there's a lot of interesting, like they don't reveal everything usually in the announcements of the new devices, and there's usually one or two things that kind of come to light afterward. One interesting thing is apparently the new phones they do have some sort of reverse charging, wireless charging feature.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is, if everyone I think is familiar with, you can charge devices wirelessly now. I think Samsung and some other manufacturers have had phones where you could basically charge another phone or like some other wireless charging device with your phone. So apparently this is built in, but they didn't announce it. I don't think it's available or functional yet. But it's interesting, right? I think it's this is not the first time Apple has added some hardware capability that is not immediately utilized.
Well, this is kind of your point a couple episodes ago, right? About how like $300 and some for AirPods.
Yeah.
But they're really like a platform that just keeps growing and gets better and better, right?
Yeah, and I think some people criticize Apple's approach of not just launching something and making everything possible, right? And so I think the rumor around why they have this is not for it to be universal charging, but for specific devices. So,
Right.
And this might actually play into MagSafe, right? And so you can imagine maybe you have something connected to MagSafe. Maybe there's some power transfer depending on what type of device, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you have your powered wallet or something.
Well, maybe you want to use your iPhone to charge your wireless charger, so then that charger can charge your phone.
Worst use case. Worst use case ever. But it's I appreciate their approach. I mean, same thing with MagSafe, right? I think it's one of those things where I think a lot of other companies will just add things because it's possible. They don't actually think through the usability and kind of like the functionality of it. And because that takes restraint, right? It takes restraint to not do a lot, like everything, and do certain things.
Yes.
And so this could be an example of that. It'd be interesting to see where that kind of goes. But I think, kind of like this, like I feel like there's a, just like we were surprised. I think a lot of people buy AirPods and wearables over the last few years, right? We weren't sure where Apple was going to take that, and that kind of was pleasantly surprising how far they've kind of taken that kind of thing.
Yep.
I could see, 1 or 2 years on where there's actually maybe a really big ecosystem and a lot of things around both MagSafe, but also this two-way power communication, right? Because I actually don't think they're going to use it for charging. I actually think they're going to use it for devices you might temporarily attach to a phone that don't have a built-in power source. So you can imagine,
that's true.
You could hook up a mic, right?
Yeah.
That just attaches to the back, right? So you don't need a port. You don't need to do it through the lightning port or something.
Yeah.
It still needs power, but you could basically make those a lot more compact by not having any sort of power source. So I think that those use cases are really interesting.
Well, even like today, right? You have, even like the iPad, if I'm not mistaken, it powers the Magic Keyboard, right? The Magic Keyboard lights up.
Yeah,
right now, I think?
exactly. What's that interface? It's the there's a name for the interface, for the connector interface.
Oh, like the three things on the back or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, not sure. We should.
So that's an example. Yeah. So that doesn't have to be on the iPad. That's a physical connection, but it doesn't have to be, right?
Yeah. I definitely agree with you, because I think it's like I was, when I look back, I find it super impressive, and I have to imagine this was always in their long-term plan. The kind of evolution of Touch ID all the way to Apple Pay, right? It's kind of like, okay, we introduced Touch ID, basic thing for unlocking your phone, right? And then over time, it's like, oh, we're going to use this to authenticate for everything, and it's going to be part of your payments and everything like that. And it's like, oh, okay, like it seems like a very kind of medium use case, maybe even small, kind of unimpressive use case. But then it makes everything else fall into place really nicely, right? Like if that works, then everything, like, again, Apple Pay, when it was introduced, is just a small incremental step to Touch ID.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than introducing Apple Pay and Touch ID all together, right? It's like, again, I have to imagine that, it doesn't always work out for them, but they probably have this long-term plan of like, okay, yeah, we have this interface now. There are all these visions we have in the future. It may come to fruition, it may not, but if it does, it's going to be sweet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely other companies have done it, but yeah, you're right. Their long term vision is probably going to be more impressive.